सब तेरा, कहो नानक सब तेरी वड्याई, कोई नाओ ना जाने मेरा। दसां पातशाहियां दी आत्मक जोत, कलयुग के बोहित, नाम के जहाज, हलत पलत की रक्षा करने वाले, धन 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 साहिब श्री गुरु ग्रंथ साहिब जी महाराज। आपने अपार बख्शिश की पातशाह जी। ਸੰਗਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਈਬਰ ਸਪੇਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਣ ਦਾ ਉਦਮ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਆ। ਅਪਾਰ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ। ਆਪ ਦਾ ਕੋਟਾਨ ਕੋਟ ਸ਼ੁਕਰ ਹੈ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ। ਆਪ ਸੰਗਤਾਂ ਦੀ ਰਸਨਾ ਤੇ ਬੈਠ ਕੇ ਆਪ ਉਚਾਰਨ ਕਰਵਾਓ। ਆਪਣੀ ਗੁਰਮਰਿਆਦਾ ਅਨੁਸਾਰ, ਆਪਣੀ ਗੁਰਮਤ ਅਨੁਸਾਰ ਮਤ ਬੁੱਧ ਦੇ ਕੇ ਸੰਗਤਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਕਰਨ ਦੀ ਆਗਿਆ ਬਖਸ਼ੋ ਜੀ। ਸਹੀ ਪਿਆਰੇ ਮੇਲੋ, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਚਿੱਤੇ ਆਵੇ। ਨਾਨਕ ਨਾਮ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਭਾਣੇ ਸਰਬਤ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
Anji, Vaisakhi ji ka khalsa, Vaisakhi ji ki fateh. This is Ravinder Singh connecting with you from Columbus, Ohio. Welcome again to this session of Khoj Gurbani. We've had some very lively discussions, and where we stand right now is we are ready now to tackle the first Pauri, which starts with sōchai, sōch na hōvaī. But before we go there, let me just very quickly recap some of the guidelines that we went over. I will not read through all of them, but just highlight a few before we begin. So let me start there. The guidelines are quite simple. All dialogue and discussion on Khoj Gurbani is rooted in Gurbani and the Guru. This is absolutely our starting point. While we would like our discussion to have as many references, direct references as possible from the Guru Granth Sahib or Guru Gobind Singh Ji's Bani, participants are also encouraged to provide their own analysis based on their life and experience. It is not required that you have supporting or substantiating evidence from Gurbani, but if asked, you should be able to provide that. Again, while all participants here are equal, with no regard to age or scholarship or lack thereof, the idea is that when there are silences, we know that there are some participants who are on here online who have far more life experience, scholarship, knowledge of Gurbani than others. We acknowledge that, and we would ask them to step in when they sense that there are gaps or silences in the conversation. Again, as participants, be frank and honest, but not disrespectful. Agree to disagree, but do not become disagreeable. Your responses or observations should be brief. We are going to follow a 2-minute rule, meaning do not go over 2 minutes at one time. And what we did last time quite successfully, everyone thinks, is we followed a round table format. What that means is the moderator controlled the discussion so that he went around the table, so to speak, of participants, followed by maybe a follow-up question, and then went through that process all over again. So that's what we will do today. With that said, I'm all set to actually trigger off the discussion, but before I do so, are there any questions? None. Okay. So we will start with the first Pauri of Japji Sahib, and I think the best way to begin it would be to actually read the Pauri so that it settles our minds. Sare savdhan ho ji, apna chitte ekagar karo. Sōchai sōch na hōvaī, je sōchī lakh bhār, chupai chup na hōvaī, je lai rahā livitār, bhukhiā bhukh na utarī, je bannā purīā bhār, sahas siānapā lakh hōīai, ta ek na chalai nāl, kiv sachiārā hōīai, kiv kūrai tutai pāl, hukam rajāī chalanā, nānak likhiā nāl. Hanji, can I ask Uncle Ravel Singh ji to actually start off the discussion with some observations? Uncle, what we would ask you to do is to actually provide some sort of a synthesis of this whole Pauri. And I would appeal to you to sort of tell us, when you read this, what does it actually, what sort of a reaction does it evoke in your own mind? I mean, what is your takeaway from this? What do you think of when you read this? Hanji. Do we have him there, Harvinder? I was reaching out to Hanji Ravel Singh ji, to मैं कह रहा था.
Japji Sahib, the Pehli Pauri, is about एक चीज़ मैं बेनती कर रहा हूँ पहले कि सारे जपजी साहब ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਾਰੀਆਂ 38 ਪੌੜੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਹਨ ਇਹਦੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਾਂਗੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਇਸ ਦੀ ਐਸੈਂਸ ਹੈ ਹਰ ਇੱਕ ਪੌੜੀ ਦੀ ਉਹ ਲਾਸਟ 1 or 2 ਲਾਈਨਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ. It will be very interesting when we go around, we go along, and if we have a look at everywhere, we will find that पहले इसकी डिस्कशन ਹੁੰਦੀ है और आखिरी ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ 2 ਲਾਈਨਾਂ ਹੁੰਦੀਆਂ ਹਨ ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਐਸੈਂਸ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਪੌੜੀ ਦੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ. तो पहली पौड़ी ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਐਸੈਂਸ ਹੈ ਕਿ sachiārā ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਪੂਰੇ ਟੁੱਟੇ ਪਾਲ ਹੁਕਮ ਰਜਾਈ ਚੱਲਣਾ ਨਾਨਕ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਨਾਲ. ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਜੋ ਕੁਛ ਵੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਚਿਆਰ ਬਣਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੇ, ਸਚਿਆਰ ਦੀ ਡੈਫੀਨੇਸ਼ਨ ਪ੍ਰੋਬਬਲੀ ਇਜ਼ ਨੈਸੈਸਰੀ ਕਿ ਸਚਿਆਰ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸੱਚਾ ਹੈ. ਜੇ ਕੋਈ ਇਨਸਾਨ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੇ ਕੋਲ ਤੇ if he claims or she claims ਕਿ ਜੀ ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ or if he is asked ਕਿ ਤੂੰ ਆਪਣਾ ਕੰਮ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ, in fact the total purpose of the human life is this. ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਕੋਈ ਇੱਕ ਅੱਜ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਦੇ ਮਾਹੌਲ ਦੇ ਮੁਤਾਬਕ if an employee is sent out for some work on some project and told you've got so much time and so much work to do, come back and report whether you have completed the job. If you complete the job, you will be admitted. If you are to come back, otherwise you'll be sent back again. So this is the type of life or type of directions that the Almighty gives to the soul. कि तुसी इस तरह you are being sent to take birth, तुसी जाके करना हैगा वे. ते तो इत्थे कि sachiārā हुई है कि जेकर मैं किस तरह sachiārā होवां, किस तरह how would I be accepted back by the boss, by the Almighty कि मैं काम ठीक किया कि नहीं किया. Now let us कि इधर की मतलब की हैगा इस चीज़ का. ये जिस देखांगे शुरू तो ही ਇਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੇਖਾਂਗੇ ਜਿੰਨੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਪੌੜੀਆਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਕਿ ਸੋਚੇ ਸੋਚਣਾ ਹੋਵੇ ਜੇ ਸੋਚੀ ਲਿਖਵਾ, ਇਹ ਐਵਰੀਥਿੰਗ ਸੀਮਸ ਟੂ ਇੰਡੀਕੇਟ ਏ ਸੈਟਿਸਫੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਫॉर द ਮਾਈਂਡ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਨੂੰ ਕਨਵਿੰਸ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ ਜੀ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਇਹ ਕੰਮ ਠੀਕ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ, ਮੈਨੂੰ ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਸੀ ਮੈਂ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ. ਫॉर एग्जांपल ਸੋਚੇ ਸੋਚਣਾ ਹੋਵੇ, ਸੋਚੇ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਦੀ accepted translation, accepted interpretation is cleaning of the body. कि जे सोचे सोचना हो सोच करे दिन रात मन की मैल न तन ते जात आंदा है सुखमनी साहब दे विच कि जेकर अपने तन नूं तू दिन रात तू सफाई करदा रहे ते लेकिन मन दी मैल जिहड़ी है वो तन दे तन तो नहीं जांदी. तो सोचे सोचना हो जे सोची रखवा कि तू अपने आप को कन्विंस कर ले कि मैं मेरा दिस इज व्हाट आई हैव टू डू, मैं अपने आप को साफ करके रखना, मैं तीर्थां ते जावांगा, मैं सब कुछ करांगा. चुप्पे चुप न हो गई जे मैं मौन धार लवां क्या जी मैं कोई गंदी कोई गलत गल करनी नहीं हैगी, मैं कोई चीज़ खराब बोलनी नहीं हैगी. लेकिन जिहड़ा मन है ਉਹਨੂੰ ਕੀ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ कि चुप्पे चुप न हो गई कि लाए रहा लिवतार. मन जिहड़ा चुप नहीं हुंदा. भुखिया भुख न उतरी जे कोई कई some people advocate keeping fasts as self purification कि मैं उधर साफ हो जावांगा कि मैं बिल्कुल अपना मैं रज जावांगा, उससे नाल मेरे will I get satisfaction.
Hanji, Uncle, can I just stop you here for a second? Excuse me. We'll come back to this. Tusi badi qeemti gal shuru ਕੀਤੀ hai. I think you've gone right to the heart of the matter. कि sachiārā hōīai, कि kūrai tutai pāl is the real essence of this Pauri. And as you've indicated, कि Pauri ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਬੰਤਰ ਹੈ ਸਾਰੀ ਬਾਣੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਖੀਰਲੀਆਂ ਤੁਕਾਂ ਚ ਉਹਦਾ ਜੋ ਸਾਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ. ਤੇ I think we let us go around and take off from this observation that you have made, because I think it is really the central sort of crux of this Pauri. So if you don't mind, we'll just make a circle and then come back to the lines that you're alluding to. So can I reach out to Gurdeep Singh Veerji in Amritsar? Hanji, again, Veerji, before you begin, I would like you to again, just like Uncle Ravel Singh ji ne kiya, kind of speak to us on what it means to you when you read this Pauri, and you know what sort of comes at you. What is the essence here?
See, I fully agree with Ravel Singh ji that Japji Sahib Pauris have a central idea in the last lines or stanza, or this gives sachiārā hōīai, give kūrai tutai pāl. That is gives me really an understanding that what is described around us, that veil of or a curtain of hōvaī, that is the surrounding all around us, or around the particular everyone, those who are engulfed in hōvaī. And to this, how to come out of this illusion that that hōvaī basically is staying away from our primal source, remaining detached from him. That is what I carry the impression what hōvaī is. It has many manifestations of hōvaī. But that,
so Vijay, what you're saying is that it is hōvaī that is preventing us from becoming sachiārs. Did I understand that correctly?
That means that we are staying, we are at a distance from our primal source. That is what it says. But and to become a sachiār, we have to remove that veil. How to remove it? That is what is the process that we have to learn from Gurbani in the next Japji Sahib.
Hanji, ठीक है जी, thank you. Let me reach out to Veer Charan Singh out in Toronto.
Vaiguruji, my synthesis of this whole Pauri is there are 4 aspects, which is intellect, spiritual, mental and physical levels, ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਅਨੁਸਾਰ 2 ਹਿੱਸਿਆਂ 'ਚ ਡਿਵਾਈਡ ਕੀਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ, ਸੱਚ ਔਰ ਸੋਚ. I have requested members also to reflect upon that. What is the difference between sōch and sach? Sōch to me is ਜਿਹੜੀ ਵੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਕੋਈ ਵਿਚਾਰਧਾਰਾ ਹੈ, ਸਾਡੀ
So
thought
Veerji, can I just stop you here for a second?
ji
That's a very important question and we'll come back to it, but for now can you just share with us what is this Pauri saying to you?
Yeah, the first 4 lines reflect to me the intellect, physical, mental and spiritual stages, and Guru Nanak questioning in the 5th and 6th Pauri that with these parameters how could one be truthful.
Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Dilpreet Singh ji, do you want to go next?
Hanji Veerji, whenever I read this, right, the message which I get from this is कि ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਵੀ ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਦੀਆਂ ਪ੍ਰਚਲਿਤ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਔਰ beliefs ਸੀਗੀਆਂ, Guru Nanak has questioned them in a very nice way. So ਉਸ ਟਾਈਮ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ belief ਸੀਗੀ ਕਿ ਤੀਰਥਾਂ ਤੇ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਇਸ਼ਨਾਨ ਕਰਨ ਨਾਲ ਕੋਈ ਚੇਂਜ ਆਏਗਾ, ਜਾਂ ਸਮਾਧੀਆਂ ਲਗਾਉਂਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਲੋਕ, ਜਾਂ ਲੋਕ ਹੋਰ ਪੂਜਾ ਪਾਠ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਨਵੋਲਵ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀਗੇ ਕਿ ਚਲੋ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਮਨ ਦੀ ਸ਼ਾਂਤੀ ਮਿਲੇਗੀ। ਐਂਡ ਸੋ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਕੁਐਸਚਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਕਿ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਉਹ ਕੰਡੈਮ ਕੀਤੇ ਉਹ ਤਰੀਕੇ, ਕਿ ਇਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪ੍ਰਚਲਿਤ ਸੀਗੇ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਕੋਈ ਲਾਭ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ। ਐਂਡ ਦੈਨ ਹੀ ਇਜ਼ ਕੁਐਸਚਨਿੰਗ that okay, if these are, once he has condemned all the common beliefs which were there, then he is asking the question, then what is the way? And then he explains his way or his thought or Vaheguru's way.
Okay, thank you. Harvinder, I don't recognize a few other people on the screen here, but I would like to reach out to them. Who have I missed?
I think Jagjit Singh ji just joined a minute ago. Jagjit Singh ji, can you hear us?
Harmanveer ji भी हैगे ने एक.
कौन जी?
Harmandeep Veer ji हैगे ने. I could see him.
Okay. Harman Singh ji, are you there? Would you like to weigh in as well on what your impressions of this Pauri are before we further expand the discussion?
Sini, are you in the listening mode, or you're going to participate today? I think she may be on the listening mode.
Okay.
That's
okay.
fine.
All right. Very well. So have I left anyone out other than myself?
No,
I've left you out.
No, I think I pretty much have the same thing as Dilpreet Veer ji mentioned. Like, and then for me, the main crux is like kiv sachiārā hōīai, kiv kūrai tutai pāl. Basically, hukam chalai chalanā. So basically, hukam is the most important thing. That is the only way. If you follow the hukam, that we have this kiv sachiārā hōīai, kiv kūrai tutai pāl. That's the only way we can get out of this thing, is when we start following the hukam in our daily life.
ठीक है जी, thank you. If I may just chime in, I, as a participant, I kind of tend to agree that here Guru Nanak is essentially raising what we refer to as fundamental perennial questions. How do we become a sachiārā, which is to me another way of asking questions like, who am I? What is my mission here on earth? What am I doing here? This is really the basis of all questioning. So here he's really raising the fundamental question. So in other words, what he's saying is that our lives have to become personifications of Satnam. And here he does list out all the existing sort of methods, methodologies, practices, disciplines that were prevalent then. So it will be interesting to see what his answer to this is, which is again in the following lines. It is hukam rajāī chalanā, and then that becomes a rather expanded discussion. So before we go there, I want to actually go back to Sardar Ravel Singh ji and ask him the question, which we will follow up with the others. Is Guru Nanak here really condemning, as someone has said, practices that were prevalent then? Or is he trying to suggest that regardless of what you do, unless you follow hukam, it doesn't matter, nothing avails? So I'll pose that question to the panel. So Ravel Singh ji, could you sort of give us your insights on that?
As all these things that I mentioned, sōchai sōchna hōvaī, bhukhiā bhukh na utarī, chupiā chup hōvaī, te siānapā lakh hōīai chalai nānak. Let us see it in the practical word of today, of any time. It's always been there. That there has been always symbolism. There has always been, display of piety, display of the good deeds in life. Jis to ke loki jade hain, oh, they are impressed. So, ये जड़ी किन्नियां सारियां हैगियां ते कोई हज ते जाता है मुसलमान तो कहते कि हाजी है, ही गेट्स स्पेशल स्टेटस। जो कोई तीर्थां ते जाता है तो कहते जी कि तीर्थवासी है। तो जे कोई वर्त रखता है तो कहते जी देखो ही इज डूइंग दिस फॉर सेल्फ प्योरिफिकेशन। तो ये जी चीज़ें हैगियां ना, there are two ways to look at it. One is कि भाई are we trying to impress other people? Yes, certainly they will be impressed. But I think the more important thing to look at it is this, that we see all of these sōchai, sōchna, hōvaī, so is it my personal satisfaction? Is it I'm trying to convince myself कि मैं बिल्कुल ठीक काम कर रहा है गाँव? This is what I'm, because the total पौड़ी जिन्नी भी है ना, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬਾਅਦ ਚ ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਹਨ ਕਿ ਜੀ ਹੁਕਮ ਰਜਾਈ ਚੱਲਣਾ ਨਾਨਕ ਲਿਖਿਆ ਨਾਲ, that is the essence। ਤੇ ਉਹਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਜਵਾਬ ਕਿਸ ਚੀਜ਼ ਦਾ ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ, ਇਹ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਮੈਂ ਜੇ ਸਰੀਰ ਨੂੰ ਸਾਫ਼ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ, ਸੋਚੇ ਸੋਚਣਾ ਹੋ ਗਈ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ then have I done what all my required to do? ਜੇ ਭੁੱਖੀ ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਵਰਤ ਰੱਖ ਲਿਆ ਤੇ have I done everything that I need to do in life? ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਚੁੱਪ ਕਰਕੇ ਬੈਠ ਗਿਆ ਔਰ ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਲੈਵਰਨੈਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ, ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਸਿਆਣਪ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੇ ਮੈਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਖੁਸ਼ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ, तो गुरु साहब कहते हैं कि हाँ ठीक है, ये लोक लाज है, तू शायद लोगों को कन्विंस कर लेगा। इस तरह सच्चे पातशाह कहते हैं, जपजी साहब लेटर एंड जग से पढ़ांगे, तीर्थ तप दे अदब दान जे को पावे उनका मान, ते उन्होंने फिर जरा मान मिलता है, मान है, लेकिन जरा असली प्यार है वो सुनिया मनिया मन कीता भाव उस तो आंदा है। ये सुनिया मनिया जी चीज़ जाके बाद च आएगी, दिस विल बी है। मैं एक और चीज़ बेनती कर दिया कि इट्स अ वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग स्टडी ऑफ जपजी साहिब। जपजी साहब की 38 पौड़ियाँ हैगियां, एंड फर्स्ट 19 पौड़ीज गिव almost every aspect that is covered in Japji Sahib, and later on there is an elucidation, there's a greater explanation of the same things in the next 19 पौड़ीज। ਤੇ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਆ ਚੁੱਕੀਆਂ ਹਨ ਪਹਿਲੀਆਂ 19 ਪੌੜੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਉਹ ਵੀ ਬਾਅਦ ਵਿੱਚ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਆਉਣਗੀਆਂ। ਵੈਰੀ ਇੰਟਰਸਟਿੰਗ ਸਟੱਡੀ, ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਖਿਆਲ ਰੱਖੀਏ ਮਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੇ ਵਿਲ ਬੀ ਏਬਲ ਟੂ ਈਜ਼ੀਲੀ ਫਾਈਂਡ ਦਿਸ। ਹੁਣ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਕ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਕੀਤੀ ਕਿ ਪੰਜਵੀਂ ਪੌੜੀ 'ਚ ਆਉਂਦਾ ਕਿ ਗਾਵੀਏ ਸੁਣੀਏ ਮਨ ਰੱਖੀਏ ਪਾਓ, ਤੇ 21ਵੀਂ ਪੌੜੀ 'ਚ ਕਹਿ ਕਿ ਸੁਣਿਆ ਮੰਨਿਆ ਮਨ ਕੀਤਾ ਪਾਓ। ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਕਿ ਮੰਨੇ ਹਕੀਕਤ ਕਹੀ न जाए जे को कहे पिछे पछताए, ਉੱਥੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਸਰਮਖੰਡ ਕੀ ਬਾਣੀ ਰੂਪ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਖੜੀਏ ਬਹੁਤ ਅਨੂਪ, ਤਾਂ ਕਿ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਕੱਥੀਆਂ ਨਾ ਜਾਏ ਜੇ ਕੋ ਕਹੇ ਪਿਛੇ ਪਛਤਾਏ। ਸੇਮ ਵਰਡਸ ਆ ਯੂਜ਼ਡ ਦੇयर। ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਜਪਜੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੇ ਥਰੂ ਆਊਟ ਮਿਲਣਗੀਆਂ। ਐਨੀਵੇ ਦੈਟ ਵਾਸ ਓਨਲੀ ਅ ਡਾਈਗਰੈਸ਼ਨ।
ਠੀਕ ਹੈ ਜੀ, ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ। ਲੈਟ ਮੀ ਰੀਚ ਆਊਟ ਟੂ ਵੀਰ ਜੀ ਗੁਰਦੀਪ ਸਿੰਘ।
ਕਾਨੀ ਲੈਟ ਮੀ ਫਿਨਿਸ਼। ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਹੈਗੀਆਂ ਨੇ, ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਨਹੀਂ ਭਾਈ ਇਹ ਸਭ ਨਹੀਂ, ਦਿਸ ਇਜ਼ ਨਾਟ ਗੋਇੰਗ ਟੂ ਵਰਕ। what works is this, कि तू इत्थे करन की आया वे, what have you come here for and have you done that? ते ये चीज़ जिहड़ी हैगी है, then you will not say कि जी मैं वर्त रख रहा, then you भी ना कदी ये जिहड़े वर्त रखना और सारा जिहड़ा है ना, ये योगा दे जिहड़े 3 गुण हैं ना माया दे, मोह सत्तो ते रजस ते सत्तो, ये सत गुण हैं। ये उन्हां चीज़ां हिंदू मनदे इन्हां चीज़ां नूं, ते कहंदे ने इह नाल काम नहीं चलना। What you are required to do is हुकम रजाई चलना नानक लिखिया नाल, तैनू लिख के देख दिता पहले। अब ये टोल्ड यू कि तू की करना हैगा वे। ये गुरु नानक साहब ने एक और साथ बड़ी ब्यूटीफुली ही वेज के काया कागद मन परवाना सिर के लेख न पढ़े ए आना। तैनू लिख के दिता हैगा वे, तू ये काम करना जाके जिंदगी में, तू पढ़दा नहीं, अपने अंदर नहीं देखदा हैगा। सो इफ यू सी कि गुरु साहब कह रहे कि जो इंसान के हुक्म रजाई चलना, जो हुक्म चलेगा, जो हुक्म मिलिया सी तू काम करेगा, तो फिर तू नहीं कोई और करने की नहीं सोचेगा, तो अपनी मर्जी नहीं करेगा। दैट इज व्हाट होमे मींस।
अच्छा, थैंक यू वेरी मच जी। गुरदीप सिंह वीर जी,
the first question that has Guru Nanak negated the practices, to my mind it appears yes, that karam kand which is there in sōchai, which I mean isnan karan which is there in chupai, live laake और live अपना चुप रहन दे विच ते ਜਿਹੜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਤਪ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਭੁੱਖੇ ਰਹਿ ਕੇ, he has negated those practices। That view I have. And the real practice which we should follow, that he has described in last line. But still, I do not understand basically what is hukam, rajāī, chalanā. When we discuss it further, perhaps we understand.
ठीक है जी. Thank you very much, Charan Singh Veer ji.
My
Because
take
I
is
heard you, if I may, before you start, I'm sorry. Can we try and stick as much as possible to English? Because I think that is basically our guideline. And while it's easy for all of us sitting on this online panel right now to revert to Punjabi very easily, because we're all, comfortable, we need to try and stay with English as far as possible. So, Veer Charan Singh ji, you said something very interesting, which I want you to elaborate on. I think what you said was that Guru Nānak is simply asking, how can we use these particular activities, if you will, to become a sachiārā? Or did I understand you correctly? So if you can just shed some light on that.
Yeah, sure. First of all, Guru Nanak is an inclusive mind. Guru Nanak, when talks about kiv sachiārā hōīai, Guru Nanak talks on the other hand about the universal practices, not just what were prevailing in India. It's so universally applicable that Guru Nanak is questioning all the spiritualities, all the mental phenomena, all the physical phenomena through the first bodies, first lines of these bodies, and Guru Nanak is questioning the intellect also in a very unobtrusive way, in a very inclusive and non-offending way. And then Guru Nanak puts his own contribution that with these type of generalities, how could one become sachiārā? Guru Nanak answers that, hukam, rajāī, chalanā. But then up till kiv sachiārā hōīai, Guru Nanak's the first body is a division between the sōch, different type of thoughts, different type of physical activities one performs to become truthful, different types of mental phenomena one may indulge in. It would be Buddhism, it be Hinduism, it be Christianity, it be Sufism, any phenomenon. It's universal application. So, to me, the first, to answer your question, yes, Guru Nanak is inclusive mind. Two, universality of that inclusive mind. And third, Guru Nanak is raising the question from those generalized perspectives that how could one be truthful if one is entangled or is one is involved with these type of practices. Thank you.
Thank you, ji. Dilpreet Singh ji.
And I think I only use that word that he condemns. See, the way I see this is that Guru Nanak first questions and something, and then he gives the justification. And if we take both of them together, then we will see that there is a message that he condemns that I don't buy this or I will not believe in this. And there were other examples. Same thing he has done when he was wear the Janeu and then watering, giving water to the plant. He has questioned it and then given this justification. And then in a way the message comes that I don't believe or he condemns.
TK ji, thank you. Harvinder, do you want to add anything to this?
I think I agree with like whatever they already said. That I personally feel that Guru Nanak is trying to give us that hukam is the main thing, like sōchai, chupai, or bhukhiā, like all this thing. Like people have tried a lot of things. Like people used to follow all this stuff. That this is not going to work unless the only way you can unite with the one Vaheguru is through hukam. That as long as you follow the hukam, all these things are not required. I'm not sure if he's condemning it but actually he's pushing us towards the hukam and trying to divert us from that. Other things pretty much does not matter.
Okay, thank you. I will just add my 2 cents worth. I personally am on the fence on this. I'm not sure whether he's directly condemning practices or rituals, or whether he's saying something else. Like Charan Singh Veerji, I believe that Guru Nanak is very inclusive and he speaks in universal themes and tones. So my sense, and I could be quite mistaken, my sense is that he's really cautioning us against religious ritual for the sake of a religious ritual. Doing things that you do not know why you're doing, for example, not knowing the meaning. So I'm not really that sure in my mind, and I'd like to sort of throw this out. Is he really condemning existing rituals, or is he just cautioning us against ritual for its own sake? Because at the end of the day, religious rituals are undertaken even today. We have our set of rituals, but it seems to me that what he's trying to do is persuade us that simply through rituals we are not going to manipulate divine will for personal ends. And I think what he is suggesting here is that all religious paraphernalia, all ritual, is not of any avail unless it is accompanied by an inner sense of submission and surrender. And the reason I say this is because we have our own set of practice. So is our set of practice better than this practice? Or is it undertaken with a sense of submission, with the idea that we ought to expand our consciousness and to be able to understand hukam? And I'll just add one more sentence before I throw this out. See, my point is, human life is punctuated by ritual, whether you like it or not. I mean, just getting up in the morning and brushing your teeth is a ritual. So whether we have one set of rituals or another, I guarantee you will end up with some sort of ordering of life, and including religious life. Because the notion of a divine is far too abstract for most people, and they need something quite concrete. So I'm wondering whether it is religious ritual that he's cautioning us against, undertaken for its own sake, or is he just condemning this? I'd like to open this up. So I'll go to Ravel Singh Ji again. I'm sorry.
I think we should not hesitate to say that Gurbani is unequivocal in pointing out the futility of these rituals. In fact, the third Guru goes to the extent of saying that all these karam, taram, all of these are, they are really a bondage. They bind you back to the world, they bind you back to and that is all, or it is all that it this comes into charities of different types. लेकिन तीजे पाशा कहते कर्म कर्म सब बंधना पाप पुण्य सनबन सारे ते जिन्ना भी है ना सारा ਅਸੀਂ सोचते रहे हैं जी चंगा काम है ये माड़ा काम है and this चंगा and माड़ा काम is based on this superficial understanding है जब शरीर धो लो तो तुसी साफ हो जाओगे ये तुसी इस तरह कर लोगे लेकिन गुरु नानक that that's not going to work. God is see the total policy act very benefit है I think during the discussion we seem to go possibly where we are. ਅਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਜਪਜੀ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਪੌੜੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ we are now discussing only one particular thing ਕਿ ਜੀ ਜੇ ਕਿਵ ਸਾਚਿārā ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਕਿ ਕਿਹੜਾ ਤਰੀਕਾ ਹੈਗਾ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਿ I'll be able to justify what I have done. ਕਿਹੜਾ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ I'll be able to say ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਜੀ, oh my God Almighty, you sent me to this world to do this and this is what I have done. Have I done what I was required to do? That is being sachiārā. So I think we should concentrate on the immediate subject that is in hand, because the elaboration of it is coming later. Plenty of it is going to come, and we should apply it at that time to say as to where it is. Because here it is only we have just started Japji Sahib, And I think I very humbly submit that despite all the reading and everything that we do, we should really be looking at it as it as novices. नहीं सानू कुछ नहीं पता है कि सच्चे पातशाह जी तुसी सानू इस वक्त सारी इतनी चीज़ दस रहे जे असी यही समझना चाहते हैं. And after we've understood this, then we'll go ahead and understand more intricate things and how they apply to our life. This is also application to life, but only to the extent to say कि मैं जिंदगी के विच मैंने भेजा गया हैगा वे. I have been sent to do a job. Have I done the job the way I was required to do, or have I only did an eye wash job, or wishy thing to say that yes, I think I've done everything, and I convince myself. Finally, एक बड़ी interesting चीज़ है ये particularly in context of this Pauri, जैसे इसी देखते हैं कि साचिārā hōīai कि कूड़े टुटे पाल. वो पाल केड़ी है? पाल का मतलब है कि this is a wall. It's a separate something that separates one from the other. That is the boundary wall. That is the division. ये किस तरह टूटे? Break that obstacle. How do we break that gap in this one? And how we break this moat? How we get across? ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਵੱਖਰਾ ਕਰਦੀ ਹੈ ਪਾਪ ਰੁਕ ਤੇ ਕੋਲੋਂ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਸਾਰੀ ਉਹ ਅਸੀਂ let's concentrate on this and then we can go ahead.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you, Ravel Singh Ji. And before I go to Gurdeep Singh Ji, I would like to humbly disagree with you a little bit. I get your point that we need to focus on the essence of this Pauri. However, I would like to sort of remind ourselves that we are novices indeed, no matter how much reading we've done. But the whole point of a discussion is to actually unparse the meanings, and sometimes discussions do get a little messy. I think you've already established at the outset that Kiv sachiārā hōīai, Kiv kūrai tutte pāl is the central message here. But I think it is not such a logical sequential step that we are taking. We are branching off into other areas simply because there are several lines above these two lines. And if we are to have an ongoing dialogue, a lot of people have questions, I do, around the first 4 or 5 lines. I mean, my concern is, and I don't think that has been addressed, and I'm still trying to figure out, is Guru Nānak really condemning all ritual? In that case, then, can someone tell me, how are we Sikhs free from ritual today? Because we have ritualistic patterns around us. So I think it's worthwhile having that kind of discussion. Otherwise, yeah, we can just say, okay, let's carry on and figure out what hukam is. So I say that we should at least spend a little bit of time talking about the lines above. And with that, I'll go to Gurdeep Singh Ji from Toronto.
From Amritsar.
I'm sorry, Amritsar Ji.
Okay. I thought you were addressing Toronto with you.
No, I meant to come to you. I mean, I sometimes lose my sequence.
Right. So I have a feeling I support Ravel Singh Ji on this. That he is not telling that we should not discuss these rituals. He is only telling that let's postpone this discussion for a later on when we discuss this karam taram, or when we discuss rituals. There are a lot of Vani written about rituals, and there, if he has condemned there, then he has condemned here also. So this decision can come later on. But the essence of this body is, let's concentrate on that main topic here at this moment. In these 3 lines here describes all rituals. To that extent, I think everyone will agree. These 3 lines describe, or 4 lines describe rituals. But whether it is in a condemnation mode or whether it is in that mode, we should do ritual with some sort of sense in mind, thinking our own rituals, our own as Sikh rituals, thinking that in mind. Those discussions can take place later. That at the moment, let's concentrate on the central idea, for which these 3-4 lines are written. That we should not concentrate on those things, but rather concentrate on to breaking the wall of what is that wall. Let us discuss whether it's home. What is that kood? There is kood. What is that kood? Let's discuss this. This is what is more important here.
Thank you for your thoughts on this, Gurdeep Singh Virji. I will leave it to the other members of the panel. I don't necessarily agree with that point of view, but that's just my opinion. Because all of these other concepts are also described in Gurbani later on. Haume bare bhi bahut kuch hai, hukam bare bhi bahut kuch hai. So if you want to sort of jump to those, so my point, let's take one Pauri and discuss it as thoroughly as we can, knowing that all of these terms and concepts have come up again. But again, I'll defer to what the panel wants to do. So with that, I'll reach out to we from Toronto, Charan Singh ji.
I think 1 second. I think Ravinder Singh ji and I think Gurdeep Singh ji also mentioned. Can you a little bit elaborate, like when you refer to Sikh rituals, what are we referring here? Like our practice, our ritual. So what rituals are we referring here?
I'm referring to ritualistic patterns that we see.
Like when we say that.
So let's. So can we hear out the panel first? We'll come back to this question, Harvinder.
Sure.
Thanks. I think I agree that it's not condemnation of anything. Guru Nanak is not condemning anything, and I prefer using the word cautioning, and I will further elaborate it. It's not simply cautioning. It is reasoning out. It's using our intellect, which distinguishes us from animals, to reason out, to see how the things happen in generality. I would use the word generality. And I will not use the word ritual also. I will use the word processes. Whenever human, in any religion, in any practice, in any way, tries to reach to the other side of the fence, or the veil, or wants to remove the veil, the kurda pala. Pala is like, I understand in a typical Punjabi, kabaddi da pala. There's a line drawn, very thin line of hōvaī drawn. On one side there's a truth, on the other side it is exactly the same, but it is the opposite. So Guru Nanak is giving us that playground which has the pala of two types, of truth and untruth. And Guru Nanak is just giving us the process. Whosoever is in the other pala follows that process. I reluctantly not use the word ritual also, because it's a process. Anybody who wants to question, reason out, explore, these are the cautionary terms rather than the condemnation terms. Thank you.
Thank you, Virji. I'm very indebted to you for actually using the term process instead of ritual, because I think that frees us up from this notion of is he condemning or is he not condemning. So indeed, I stand much enlightened by that whole terminology of process. And cautioning, of course, is something I use, but reasoning might even be better. And I think that this certainly sheds new light, because at the end of the day, when we started, we said the question being asked is "Kiv sachiārā hōīai," which simply means how do I actually, for want of a better word, recognize or adorn truth, or become truthful in my living. So Dilpreet Singh ji, let's go to you, and then we'll carry on with this.
Right. See, again, I would like to stick to the same thing, because when I was discussing this with the young kids there at Gurdwara, I explained them that if you take bath 1 lakh times, nothing is going to happen. The first question they posed at me, that okay, then why we have sarovars? Why are Sikhs taking bath at Darbar Sahib? If Guru Nanak is saying, first line is saying that nothing is going to happen, then why are we doing that? So somewhere I think we have to take these practical questions and today's questions, that if bathing, by taking baths at Tirath is not going to help us, then why Sikhs are taking bath on every Sangrand or every Matsya? Why we are doing that? And we also say that Tirath nāye sukhfal pāye, mail na lage kai. Tirath nāye sukhfal pāye, mail na lage kai. So we are using this and we are doing this, and the same thing will come when we say chupe chup na hōvaī, jalai rahā livtar. But now Sikhs are sitting and they are trying to hear the sound inside, they are going to the dasam dwar, how that is different than what is being said here. So I would like the panel to take these type of practical and today's examples which Sikhs are doing and compare with this.
Thank you, Dilpreet Singh ji. Harvinder, that should pretty much answer your question.
Exactly.
That is exactly what I was trying to drive at.
Yeah, I think exactly. I think this answers my question. Like,
Yeah.
actually, this kind of rituals are what you were referring, and I wanted to like kind of elaborate just to make sure we have that in mind when we discuss this thing. So I think exactly this was I was asking, and I think even though I can I speak?
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Even though I understand that for us the most important in this first body is code. What is code we're trying to get out of, and how to follow the hukam. But still, I think it would be. I think I know the other concepts are going later in the Bani, but still it will be good, as Dilpreet Virji mentioned, that understand like soche soch na hove, that what kind of what was the reasoning Guru Nanak Dev Ji is trying to tell us, like which kind of bathing is not good, like and then he gave the example of Mandak later on and all that, that we need to I think go in more practical, one line by line. And even though I agree with Gurdeep Ji and Ravel Payaji that the most important fact is code and hukam here, but still the first four line, I think this is a good time to understand those two.
Tikaji, is there anybody else who wants to chime into this? That's precisely the angle I'm taking. A part of it is do we have to sort of rush on? We've all gotten the central gist. Yes, that is the question. So it begs other questions. What is kur? What is hukam? What is sachiārā? And I think we will get to those discussions as well. But to Dilpreet's point, like him, I get asked these questions. I ask these questions myself. And Guru Nanak is laying out these practices at the very outset. So there must be good reason that he is doing that. So I'll throw that open to the panel. We are getting close to our time. I think we have 15 minutes left. And I would like to kind of have a little more discussion around this, because I think this is going to more or less guide us how we are going to have these discussions. Should we just focus on central concepts and use a parking lot that says, okay, let's not get into whether this is a condemnation or not, or whether it's a ritual, etc. Can we just park those questions and move on logically, or should we pause and have a discussion no matter where it takes us for that 1 hour and then come back again to the central idea? I'll leave that open to the panel. I'll start that discussion because I think it's important that we all sort of agree on how this dialogue and discussion should proceed. Either way works with me. So with that, back to Ravel Singh ji, could you address this question that I've raised on how should we move forward on this? Because this will happen again and again.
Would you like to say the question again?
I was basing my question on the general discussion that has gone on now on whether or not we should. So the point you had made earlier was that we need to focus on the essence and not get not digress or get distracted with questions around ritual, with questions around whether Guru Nanak is condemning these practices or not, and I am simply raising the question to the panel.
I never questioned that, because this is a very valid question. Is Guru Nanak condemning these, or is it something else? No, this is not a digression. This is a very much valid question, and I think we should address that. The quote that I gave, and even otherwise, I think we kindly have a look at this particular thing, that throughout Gurbani, if we take one line of this body at a time, first one is sōchai sōch na hōvaī je sōchī lakh, ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖੀਏ ਤੇ ਥਾਂ ਥਾਂ ਤੇ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਕਹਿੰਦੀ ਕਿ ਤਨ ਧੋਤੇ ਮਨ ਅੱਛਾ ਨਾ ਹੋਏ, ਜੇਕਰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਰੀਰ ਨੂੰ ਧੋਂਦੇ ਰਹੋਗੇ ਤੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮਨ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਸਾਫ਼ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਾ। ਸਿਮਿਲਰਲੀ ਇੱਕ ਦੂਜੀ ਮੇਰੀ ਹੋਰ ਬੇਨਤੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਸਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਸਵਾਲ ਪੁੱਛਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਜੇ ਸਰੋਵਰ ਬਣ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਬਣਾਏ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਿਆਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਤੇ ਇਹ ਸਭ ਜ਼ਬਤ ਕੀਤਾ ਹੋਇਆ, ਕੀ ਇਹ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ? I think that question should not be left unanswered, and if you permit me, I'll like to answer that question. चीज़ ये जी that जितने भी सरोवर, these are at big places, large places like दरबार साहिब, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਦੇਖੋ ਫਿਰ ਕੀ ਨਾ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਵਕਤ ਅਸੀਂ ਥਾਂ ਥਾਂ ਤੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ ਤੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਬਣੇ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਤੇ ਇਹਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, at that time please remember the or even today, this has of course become a bit of a more of a ritual today, but otherwise all these rovers were made so that people could also bathe. कि Guru Nanak Sahib says quite beautifully, पंजे पातशाह कहते हैं बड़े साफ तरह के जी जड़ा है कि कर स्नान सिमर प्रभ अपना मन तन पे अरोगा। कर स्नान शरीर ਨੂੰ ਸਾਫ਼ ਕਰ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪ ਬਾਦਸ਼ਾਹ ਨੂੰ, ਆਪਣੇ ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਨੂੰ, ਮਾਲਕ ਨੂੰ ਯਾਦ ਕਰ। ਕਰ ਇਸ਼ਨਾਨ ਸਿਮਰ ਪ੍ਰਭ ਆਪਣਾ, ਫਿਰ ਮਨ ਤਨ ਪੈ ਅਰੋਗਾ, ਫਿਰ ਤੇਰਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮਨ ਹੈ ਤੇ ਤਨ ਹੈ ਦੋਨੋਂ ਅਰੋਗ ਹੋ ਜਾਣਗੇ, ਦੈਟ ਇਜ਼ ਦੇਰ ਬੀ ਕਲੀਨਸਡ। ਤੋ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਇਹ that is the background to the sarovars or the pools that have been provided at all these places. ਦੂਜੀ ਚੀਜ਼ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਸਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਇੱਕ ਵਰਡ ਇਸਤੇਮਾਲ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ instead of calling it a ritual, I would like to call it a process. Possibly a practice might be another word that one could use. That these are the practices that have come in of showing piety, of showing religiosity, of showing how much spirituality we practice. So these चीज़ें जड़ी हैगियां ना, I think it is possibly we could be looking at it like that. And then we should also ਜਿਹੜੀ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਲਾਈਨ ਹੈਗੀ ਹੈ, ਸੋਚੇ ਸੋਚ ਨਾ ਹੋਵਈ ਜੇ ਸੋਚੀ ਲਖਵਾਰ, ਕਿ ਇਹ ਸੋਚੇ ਸੋਚ। ਕਈ ਲੋਕ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਆਮ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹਦਾ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਸੋਚਣ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸੋਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣੀ, ਲੇਕਿਨ ਢੁਕਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਬਾਕੀ ਲਾਈਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ ਦੇਖਦੇ ਹੈਗੇ ਆ, ਵਰਤ ਰੱਖਣ ਵਾਲੀਆਂ ਔਰ ਚੁੱਪ ਰਹਿਣ ਵਾਲੀਆਂ ਔਰ ਦੂਜੀਆਂ, ਉਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਫਿਰ ਢੁਕਦੇ ਨਹੀਂ। It doesn't match with those. Whereas if we use the
Ravel Singh ji, the specific, the more pointed question, thanks for your elaboration, but the more pointed question that was being raised by Dilpreet Singh was if indeed these practices which are not to be sort of practiced, he's being asked by youngsters at Gurdwaras, why are Sikhs adopting these practices today? He's also questioning the chupai na hōvaī. Why are Sikhs sitting in? I mean, these are questions that pop up. We need to have reasonable answers for these. So that's really where he's going.
We certainly need reasonable answers, because without that, the younger generation is not going to be convinced.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely. So I'll give the others a chance and to take a stab at this. So Gurdeep Singh Veer ji, let's go to you in Amritsar. Are you there?
Gurdeep Singh ji, Amritsar.
I was mute and sorry. The wrong practices definitely have creeped in our Sikh society as well, and the practices which are wrong according to Gurbani, but we are doing so many things not according to Gurbani. So that is simply the answer, because as Ravel Singh ji has told us, rover were made for, that was a public bath system at that time. And Karisnan Simar Pravapna, that process really brings more concentration of mind. So if bath is being taken with that aim, or the bath is being taken because it was a Dukpanjani Peri here and some kawa became Hans, that's why we are taking bath, and in this water if we take bath. So all these questions have to be answered.
Hanji, thank you, Ji. I think you've brought up a beautiful point, and that is the intent behind what you're doing. And you should understand the intent, the motivation. I think that is what distinguishes some of these practices. Hanji Veerji, Charan Singh Ji, Toronto.
I think, yes, I agree with the panel members that we need to find reasonable answers. However, my submission is that we don't have to reinvent the wheel to get them those answers, because Guru Nanak has already answered these questions from the process point of view, that these are the processes, but when one understands what hukam is, all these processes get understood. So the answer which Guru Nanak gives is in the final line, जिस वक्त सानू हुक्म दा समझ आ जाती है उस वक्त असी सचियार बने हुए उन्हां चीज़ां नू प्रैक्टिस दे विच लिया के I think I agree with the word practices also as a part of the process, but what I'm trying to come at is जद वो इको सूत प्रोवनहार है, जद सारा कुछ नाम ही है and everything is threaded with the naam, the moment that naam, the moment that hukam, the moment that sabad gets understood, all these things which we are considering as rituals become a part of that process which naam manifests as, and we can stay connected with the naam only if we have understood the sachiārā word. I would understand it as sach and ara. Ara means the division of between the two binary polar opposites, day, night, right, wrong, left, right. So when we have reasoned out both aspects of the existence, then we are in a neutral point where we have understood both and we have reasoned out both, and then we are in a position to understand the naam part of it, hukam rajāī. Only then we can get into that flow of hukam which is naam.
Thank you, Ji. Thank you, Veerji. Who's next here? Is Dilpreet, is that you?
Yes, that's me.
Hanji.
Ravindraji, what bothers me is that whenever we are having these discussions in Gurdwaras, it is good that we are having it outside. It is all goes round and round. The clear message is not given because Gurbani is very logical and there are no ifs, buts and then in that. Okay, if you give me 1 minute, I will use one example. It is about the kada, the kakar which we are wearing. The message is very clear. It is documented that from Brahmin Pandit who came to Anandpur Sahib, and Guruji, he asked Guruji that for the Shani Grahes, Upavde Lei, I want all of these things. That Samagri was, that Guruji gave him, and then Sikhs beat him up. कि जेड़े गुरु ने सानू वहमा भरमा तो मुक्त करता है वो तेनू किवें दे सकदे. In short, that message was clear that ये कड़ा साडा वहमा भरमा नू जितण दा medal है. But now when it is explained to our kids, we said that roundness represents the universe, or it protects us during the war, or our right hand goes first, then it Guru, we have to remember Guru, it reminds of Guru. All of these illogical messages are not working out with the kids, and even if it is not working out with anyone. So somewhere we have to draw a line that Gurbani's message is very clear. It is this or that. I feel it that way. Panel may not agree, but I think we have to keep it very clear. That is how whoever is listening, or at least we will learn that, okay, it is this or that, but both cannot be true.
Okay, Ji. Thank you for your thoughts on that, Dilpreet. Harvinder? Do you want to add anything? Harvinder is not around. Okay.
Sorry, Ji, can you hear me?
Hanji.
Yeah.
Bolo Ji.
So I think I clearly already mentioned that we need to be very clear, I think, and as Ravel Singh ji and Gurdeep ji and everyone mentioned that as we move along in Gurbani, we discuss more in future, we will understand these concepts much better. But the idea is that we also want to make sure that whenever we discuss one Pauri, we want to make sure we are clear on what we learn from it. And then, like, from my point of view, like what I thought so far, like in so many years, that Guru Nanak Dev Ji was, I think, pretty much condemning all these practices, that even though I think Ishnan Karna is important, but just Ishnan Karna is not important, like Soche. Jaga Jaga Jaake Ishnan Karna is not important if you think it's a bathing. And Sochan Naal ki main Vaheguru kive mil jaye, so it's not going to happen unless we start following the hukam, and then we need to understand what the hukam is. So from my point of view, I feel the message was that these practices are not important, or and you have to basically feel like only the hukam that can relate you to the or join you to the Vaheguru. So I think that was my understanding so far, that it was pretty much kind of condemnation, but saying that these practices are not going to help, they never worked, and they're not going to work with us too.
ठीक है जी, thank you. I think I've covered all the panelists, and we are running out of time, so I will leave you with my thought on this, which is I tend to lean with what Charan Singh Veer ji is saying. In essence, to me, it seems like it isn't what we do or practice, it is how we practice. So it's not that we need a certain set of practice that is more desirable than the other, but we require a different paradigm or a way of looking at life. And this is the paradigm of hukam, rajāī, chalanā, which is, to me, to be guided by a sense of sacred in all human activity. Once you connect to hukam, or at least begin to understand it, now that's a whole different discussion, then it doesn't matter what you're doing, because it is how you're doing it that it matters. So with that said, that's my thought. I would recommend that we continue Pauri 1 discussion on Wednesday, because there are quite a few questions that we have left unanswered. I'm going to throw it out there, if the panel is agreeable, that we will continue Pauri 1 on Wednesday.
Hanji.
Hanji, theek hai ji. With that said, we are out of time. Thank you very much for a very vigorous discussion. Very important things.
Can I give a suggestion, please?
I'm sorry, was somebody saying something? Please. Hello?
I have given a suggestion that, you know, before we do all this, and so that we don't miss out anything, when we start the body, let us first do everything line by line, take the meanings, and then discuss them. I think we have done everything but discuss the body today.
Very well. We'll go back line by line then next time.
And I think that makes sense, that let's do line by line and then do the whole body as a summary.
Okay, we'll do that, and then in order to do line by line and get through it we'll also have to agree how much time we want to allow that, because it could be minutes, it could be hours, it could be days, or it could be months. So we all need to be very mindful of that. And I guess this will all evolve as we go along. Does anyone want to say anything before we wrap up? And ठीक है जी, फतेह जी सारिਆਂ ਨੂੰ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ,
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ,
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।